Watching News at Prime, let's bring you this now. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has announced that South Africa's inflation target is at 3%. Now, the Finance Department has been in talks with the South African Reserve Bank to lower the inflation target with a view to protect consumer buying power, lower the interest rates and, over time, ease the cost of living in the country. The Treasury says a 1 percentage point tolerance will be added to the target band.
Today, I announce a new inflation target for South Africa of 3% with a 1 percentage point tolerance band. This decision follows agreement between the Governor of the South African Reserve Bank and my consultation with the President and Cabinet. The 1 percentage point band provides flexibility to accommodate unexpected inflationary shocks. This new target immediately replaces the previous target range between 3% and 6% and will be implemented over the next 2 years. Over time, the lower target will decrease inflation expectation and inflation creating room for lower interest rates.
Well, let's discuss some of the elements of this mini budget, and we speak now to Black Business Council's CEO Kganki Matabane, who joins us from the virtual platform. Mr. Matabane, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. Let's start with this new inflation target band of 3%. This is down from a previous 4.5%. To your mind, is this the big story of MTBPS 2025?
Good afternoon, Jolene. Good afternoon to your viewers. For us, a big story should be talking about how do we grow the economy, and as such, how do we then reduce unemployment. But we are very glad that ultimately the governor and the minister sat down and agreed instead of differing in the media. So it's a good development. It will reduce inflation for both consumers and business owners, especially small business owners.
Yeah.
We are very happy with some aspects of the medium-term budget speech, but we're also not happy with some. So maybe I'll start with the positive ones. We're happy with the stabilization of the debt. As you know, as we speak now, for every 1 rand that the SARS raises, 22 cents of that goes to pay interest.
Yeah.
It's not even paying the debt itself. And then we're happy that is stabilizing because it was growing at maybe 10% or so per year. So if it's stabilizing, it means probably next year or the next 3 years, it will actually go down.
Yeah.
So that we'll have enough money done now for service delivery.
Can I just chip in quickly there? I apologize for interrupting you. I don't want us to lose the theme of a government debt that appears to be stabilizing. Linked to that, South African government bonds. The story today is that they are looking more and more attractive to foreign investors. What is it about this government debt, because that's what government bonds are? What is it about South Africa's government debt that is looking to be selling like hotcakes to foreign investors?
And remember, the stabilization is very important because it indicates to the world that the country is managing its fiscal positively. And also remember, we're just removed from that a negative thing called the blacklisting, grey listing. So we're getting there, I think, a little bit by bit. Hence, we're also then saying we also congratulate SARS for raising more money than they had planned. We agree with the commissioner that we need to make sure that SARS is given more money for it to strengthen itself, strengthen the systems so that they can then go all out there and collect money, because it's very, very important that we collect as much revenue as possible. We're also happy with the planned 1 trillion infrastructure, but we're just worried that we've had this thing before. Probably maybe the next 5-10 years, we've had about 1 trillion budget over the next 3 years, but we don't see South Africa as a construction site, because with 1 trillion budget, everywhere we go in South Africa, we should be seeing all these yellow machines and everything else to show that we're busy developing the infrastructure that the state is supposed to develop, the roads, the bulk, so that we can then allow private sector to have a capacity to do what they're supposed to do. And that way we'll be able to create jobs. So we need to look at the capacity of the state to spend that money. It's one thing to say we've got 1 trillion, but it's something completely different to then say we haven't spent it.
Yeah.
The other disappointment from our side as the Black Business Council in particular is that in July 2024, just before the elections, the president signed the Public Procurement Bill into an act, which is the Public Procurement Act. But unfortunately, that act has not been implemented even today, because we're waiting for the National Treasury to develop the regulations. And according to their plan, the regulations should by now have been developed, taken to Parliament, been gazetted by the president, so that we can implement that. So we're very disappointed with National Treasury when it comes to that, because it looks like they're dragging their feet. And unfortunately, while they're dragging their feet, a lot of big procurement processes are happening, like the Transnet concessions, the ESCOM 14,000 kilometer transmission infrastructure is happening. So by the time the act is signed, all the big procurement processes will have been concluded, which means that Black business will only be left with the crumbs. Because in the act, the significant thing in the act, we've got what we call a set aside. So you can set aside a certain percentage of procurement for Black people, for Black women, for Black youth, for people living with disabilities.
Yeah.
Because as we sit now with the current legislation, you can't. But also in dealing with corruption, that legislation is got a section that deals with protection of procurement officers and anyone who works in procurement, because we know all those people who are working in procurement are forever under pressure, but they don't know where to go. They can't be protected.
All right.
Also, the protection of whistleblowers, because as you know, whistleblowers get harassed all the time because there's no protection. So it's important that if we are serious also in dealing with corruption, we should we should make sure that the regulations are finalized so that we can implement this very, very important act.
Kganki Matabane, CEO of the Black Business Council, thank you very much for your time, giving us their take on the mini budget 2025.